Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Jamuna Tira Vanamchari Jamuna Tira Vanamchari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Bolo Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Gaura Simanandi Jayam Vishupad Paramahamsa Pri Vrajgachadya Stotar Satya Sri Simar His Divine Grace Shilabhai Charanarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON BBT Founder Acharyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtana Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jaini Tagore Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru, to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Taksurundilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhuttale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Sri Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayeshabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamitam Uttama Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyaya Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gauda Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Surabhyay Namaha. Om Surabhyay Namaha. Om Surabhyay Namaha. Mukam karoti vasalam pangom langayate girim Yat kripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Yat kripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Bhagavatam class. Continuing from Canto number 1, Chapter 3, entitled Krishna is the source of all incarnations. And today we are reading text number 37. Okay. Na chasya kaschin nirupena nupenena nipunena dhatur avaiti jantuhu kumanisha uttihi namani rupani mano vachobihi santam vato nata sharyam evajnaha. Nachasya kaschin nipunena dhatur avaiti jantu kumanesha uttihi. Namani rupani manovacho bihi santan vato natta charyam ivajnaha. Nachasya kaschin nipunena dhatur avaiti jantu kumanesha uttihi. Namani rupani manovacho bihi santan vato natta charyam ivajnaha. Nachasya kaschin nipunena dhatur avaiti jantu kumanesha uttihi. Namani rupani manovacho bihi santan vato natta charyam vivajnaha. Nachasya kaschin nipunena dhatur avaiti jantu kumanisha uttihi. Namani rupani manovacho bihi santan vato natta charyam vajnaha. Nachasya kaschin nipunena dhatur namani rupani manovacho bihi santan vato natta charyam vivajnaha. Nachasya kaschin nipunena dhatur avaiti jantu kamanisha uttihi. Namani rupani manovacho bihi santan vato natta charyam vivajanaha. Nachasya kaschin nipunena dhatur avaiti jantu kumanisha uttihi. Namani rupani manovacho bihi santan vato natta charyam ivagnaha. Na, not. Cha, and. Asya, of him. Kaschit, anyone. Nipunena, by dexterity. Dhatuhu, of the creator. Avaiti, can know. Jantuhu, the living being. Kumani, Kumanishaha, with a poor fund of knowledge. Utihi, activities of the Lord. Namani, his names. Rupani, Manaha Vachobihi, by dint of mental speculation or deliverance of speeches. Santanvataha, displaying. Natacharyam, a dramatic action. Iva, like. Ajnaha, the foolish. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The foolish with a poor fund of knowledge cannot know the transcendence and activities of the Lord, who is playing like an actor in a drama. Nor can they express such things, neither in their speculations nor in their words. Kind of repeat after me. The foolish, with a poor fund of knowledge, cannot know the transcendental nature of the forms, names, and activities of the Lord, who is playing like an actor in a drama. Nor can they express such things, neither in their speculations nor in their words. Purport. No one can properly describe the transcendental nature of the absolute truth. Therefore, it is said that he is beyond the expression of mind and speech. And yet there are some men with a poor fund of knowledge who desire to understand the absolute truth by imperfect description of his activities. To the layman, his activities, appearance and disappearance, his names, his forms, his paraphernalia, his personalities, and all things in relation with him are mysterious. There are two classes of materialists, namely the fruitive workers and the empiric philosophers. The fruitive workers have practically no information of the absolute truth. And the mental speculators, after being frustrated in fruitive activities, turn their faces toward the absolute truth and try to know him by mental speculation. And for all these men, the absolute truth is a mystery, and the jugglery of the magician is a mystery, or as the jugglery of the magician is a mystery to children. Being deceived by the jugglery of the Supreme Being, the non-devotees, who may be very dexterous in fruitive work and mental speculation, are always in ignorance. With such limited knowledge, they are unable to penetrate into the mysterious region of transcendence. The mental speculators are a little more progressive than the gross materialists or the fruitive workers, but because they are also within the grip of illusion, they take it for granted that anything which has form, a name, and activities is but a product of material energy. For them, the Supreme Spirit is formless, nameless, and inactive. And because such mental speculators equalize the transcendental name and form of the Lord with mundane names and form, they are in fact in ignorance. With such a poor fund of knowledge, there is no access to the real nature of the Supreme Being. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord is always in a transcendental position, even when he is within the material world. But ignorant men consider the Lord one of the great personalities of the world, and thus they are misled by the illusory energy. Translation again. The foolish with a poor fund of knowledge cannot know the transcendental nature of the forms, names, and activities of the Lord, who is playing like an actor in a drama. Nor can they express such things, neither in their speculations nor in their words. So the point being made here is that the Lord, both in terms of his nature and transcendental nature, transcendental activities in the spiritual world, as well as his activities in the material world, uh, simply cannot be understood or conceived by ordinary people. Mm. Ordinary people means those who are conditioned in this material world due to their contact with this material body, material senses, material mind, material intelligence. And therefore, as Prabhupada would explain, even when the Lord appears before us, as he did, let's say, 5,000 years ago, very few people could actually understand that here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, the Lord remains hidden, and his activities remain mysterious, and even the knowledge, uh, transcendental subject matter. The transcendental subject matter is what devotees find very attractive. But if you speak about transcendental subject matter to ordinary people, they will uh, find it difficult to understand. They will not be able to understand. Uh, and they will never be able to understand because they are trying to understand something spiritual by their material, faulty and limited uh, senses, or faulty and limited mind and intelligence. Especially to understand, of course, Prabhupada here makes the distinction between the gross materialistic people. Gross materialistic people are totally on the bodily platform, and uh, they have no means to understand what is beyond the body, what is beyond matter. A little more advanced are those who are described here as mental speculators. Those who are trying to understand uh, by dint of their intellectual faculty. But even they cannot enter into the uh, mysterious nature of the Lord. Even the concept of God, just like nowadays, so many people have become what is called Gnostic. Gnostic means non-believers or atheists. And therefore, the subject matter of transcendence is of no, let's say, interest to them. And especially uh, to understand the actual nature, or the ultimate or topmost level of what is transcendence, means to understand that God is a person is even more difficult. Srila Prabhupada would explain that actually even so many people read, let's say, Bhagavad Gita, and although in so many places Krishna clearly explains and mentions Mata Parataram Nanyat, There is no one superior to me. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. So many verses that are describing uh, his very unique position. Still, the majority of people who actually read uh, these literatures, so many people who have translated, actually the vast majority of people who translate, uh, who have translated the Bhagavad Gita, do not actually understand the nature of Krishna. So that is why it is very clearly explained that we can never, and it's quite logical as well, you know, Atas Sri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grayam indriyai. We cannot understand transcendental subject matters simply with material instruments, either material mind, material senses cannot conceive of the Lord. And in the very beginning of the purport, Prabhupada explains how naturally, even for transcendentalists, it is, you know, not at all easy to describe because the Lord is inconceivable in, and therefore to Prabhupada also explains, we can never fully know the Lord. So then the question is how to know the Lord. What is the proper method or process that one can begin to know the Lord? By hearing. Every day everyone is hearing so many things. By hearing Bhagavatam, yeah, by hearing not anything, by hearing subject matters that are of a transcendental nature. What happens when we do that? Huh? Yeah, what is that verse? Yes. Uh, Many such verses are in the Bhagavatam. Srinvatam Swakatha Krishna, Punyas Ravana Kirtana, Rijantasto Yavadrani, Vijunoti Surit Satam. We have, because we are in Maya, before, before coming to Krishna consciousness, we don't know we're in Maya, right? We don't know we are, when someone is in darkness, has been in darkness for such a long time, he has lost his ability to understand what is light. So we have been covered, living entity, conditioned soul has been covered. It is described since time immemorial. You know, we just are totally covered. Therefore, we are totally either we say karmis, materialistic persons engaged in on the bodily platform. So whether we are karmis or gyanis, both are totally ignorant of the subject matter of transcendence. So that means, just like Prabhupada, he would often mention how, yeah, sometimes people then come up and they challenge, you're speaking about God, can you show me God? So what was Prabhupada's answer? Do you have the eyes to see God? Do you have the do you have the eyes to see God means do you have the qualification to see God? Isn't it? And Prabhupada would give the very uh, simple example as well. We all know that there is a personality called Narendra Modi. You know, how many of you have seen? How many of you have shaken hands with him? It is very, of all the people in India, for example, of the millions of people in India, a billion, how many have actually spoken with him? Okay, we see him on television. But how many have had that personal association, isn't it? So, in other words, to even someone shared a letter that Srila Prabhupada, when Prabhupada was, before going to America, he was very, very active uh, in terms of writing articles for his Back to Godhead magazine. He was aware of what was taking place, and he would write letters to different people. We know he wrote a letter to Gandhi. And who was the other person? He wrote letters to many, many kind of like important people. And sometimes seeking or requesting an appointment, you know. So, and very often Prabhupada never even got a reply or acknowledgement for his letters. Point being that even in our own limited material experience, it's not so easy to have darshan or to meet. Have darshan means to actually meet, personally meet a big person, a big personality, even in the material world. So what to speak of meeting, the most important personality who is beyond the material world. I mean, we can't meet people in the material world. What to speak of meeting people outside the material world, isn't it? Yeah. And especially because the even the activities of great personalities in the material world are unknown to most of us. I mean, the personal life of such and such individual, we don't, most of the time, don't know. So even more mysterious, even more unknown are the activities of, it's just like to know about demigods. How many of us, have had darshan of even one demigod? And there are millions of demigods. I mean, there's only one Krishna, but there's millions of demigods, right? And how many of us can come in contact with those exalted personalities who are within the material world? Right? I mean, we cannot even come in contact or have personal association with people on our planet. What to speak of other planets? So what to speak of outside the realm of the material world? It is only when we begin to read a little bit, I mean, just really a little bit, what kind of power, what kind of energies the Lord is working with, just to create this material world and to have this cosmic manifestation work in such, um, like scientists, doctors, for example, especially in the last a few decades, more so. I mean, more so than before. They are totally, uh, you know, amazed at the extraordinary nature of this, let's say, material body. You know, how it is functioning, and the workings of the material world, the workings of the material energy, uh, how, for example, we're all sitting in in our this present material body, and um, the body itself is truly amazing. The description of how it is working. I mean, here we have, you know, one, even just one of the organs of this body, the heart. The heart, since the moment we are born, even before we are born, at some point, I'm not sure exactly which month, when we are in the womb of our mother, at some particular point, the heart starts to beat. You know, because in the very beginning, we look like this, like a pea, isn't it? When there is conception, and we don't remember that, uh, we were not conscious at that time, but there is consciousness. There is, there is in that pea-like form within the embryo from the moment of conception. That's why they have it all wrong in modern, you know, medicine. Uh, they are debating when does the body uh, become alive, because they have enacted these laws whereby they allow abortion. They allow abortion um, within the early days of, or the early weeks or months of pregnancy, concluding that actually there's no life, there's no living entity. They don't speak in terms of living entity, um, but they falsely conclude that we can uh, abort that. They don't even call child, because a child is only when one is born. But from Shastra we know that from the very moment of conception, you see, there is the presence of the soul, there is the presence of the subtle body as well, although not yet conscious, and the body begins to gradually develop, and at some particular time, the heart begins to pump. When when the veins are developed within the embryo, isn't it? But within the embryo, one doesn't breathe. There's no breathing going on. When do we start to breathe? When we come out of the body, isn't it? When we come out of the body, the child is slapped actually. We don't remember that also. But and what does the newborn do when he wakes up? He cries. Generally, he starts to cry. So I was just trying to point out how this heart that we have which is one of the most vital organs within the body, has been keeping this body alive for as many years as we are in this present body. I mean, it's such an important part of this entire machine that we have. Those who study science, those who study medical science, uh, are, continue to be more and more amazed as to how this body is functioning, the wonders. So the whole material creation in itself uh, is like, even with all the knowledge that our scientists have, remains very, very mysterious in so many ways. And this is the material dimension, or within the material realm. Um, so, and somebody has done all of this, has created all of this. So therefore, uh, how great and how wonderful it is beyond our imagination, the kind of powers that Krishna has, as he describes also in the Bhagavad Gita, that he is. Um, how is it that the Lord can be described as omnipresent and omniscient? What does omniscient mean? Omniscient. Omniscient means one who knows everything. And of course, omnipresent is easy enough. It means one who is present everywhere. Sarvagya. So we also have a little experience of this omnipresence. What is our experience of omnipresence? Within this body, we are present. I mean, we are present, of course, but we are conscious. We are omnipresent and omniscient. I mean, not really omniscient, uh, but we are conscious of the different parts of the body. We don't know uh, how the body functions, of course, and we can only see the exterior uh, part of the body. We cannot see the interior. So, in other words, uh, our level of consciousness, or our field of consciousness, that is described as kshetragya. Kshetra, kshetra is field. This body is our field, described as our field of activity. So we are the kshetragya. We are the knower of the field. Mm. This is a very basic concept, which is introduced actually in the very beginning of the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna speaks about deha and dehi. The deha is the body. The deha is the kshetra. And the dehi is the kshetragya. How many kshetragyas we have in our body? Two main ones. There's more than two. But the two main kshetragyas in the body are the spirit soul, living entity, whom we are, and of course the super soul. The super soul is also kshetragya. Uh, the difference between we as small kshetragya And he or him or Krishna as the supreme Kshetragya is that we as the small Kshetragya, we know something and only something of our body, but I have no idea what's going on in your body or in anybody else's body. Uh, Whereas Krishna, because he's present in all the bodies, therefore he is conscious and knowledgeable about what is going on in everybody's body. And therefore only, uh, only he, as the Supreme Lord, is therefore conscious of everything. He's omniscient, fully knowledgeable, fully in knowledge of everything, and also omnipresent. Uh, so naturally, we can understand a little bit by by knowing how we are conscious of this body. So ultimately, of course, in the Bhagavatam and also the Bhagavad Gita, it is explained that we can come to know something about the nature of the Lord, about his forms, his different forms that he assumes through, because this chapter is speaking about different incarnations, different avatar, different leelas and pastimes of the Lord, by developing this superior consciousness, which is the consciousness of the spirit soul, and ultimately by developing our our relationship, which is based actually on a relationship is based on what is based on appreciation. Relationship is based on love. Relationship is based on affection. Uh, Relationship is based on um, yes, gratitude as well. When we appreciate mm, the qualities of an individual, um, and when we uh, recognize that particular individual is uh, giving things to us or being nice to us, then we appreciate and we become grateful. And in this way, we begin to develop a um, personal relationship. So one can only begin to know about the Lord by awakening our original transcendental nature. We can only appreciate transcendence by developing transcendence within ourselves, isn't it? So that is the meaning of that verse often quoted, Atha Sri Krishna Namadi Na Bhavet Grayam Indriyai Sevan Mukhe Ijivado Swayam Vivas Sparatyada. Therefore, by seva, by service, by transcendental service, because transcendental service awakens within us this ability to express our appreciation and our gratitude to the Supreme Lord. And ultimately, of course, that's also described in the Bhagavad Gita and other places. It is only by the intervention or by the mercy of Krishna that we can understand something about his transcendental uh, position. And of course, as mentioned a little earlier, it all begins by giving as all reception, by hearing. by hearing. By the hearing process, then gradually we can become awakened as well as purified so that we come to that position of uh, knowing something about the glories of the Lord. So the translation again here, the foolish with a poor fund of knowledge cannot know the transcendental nature of the forms, names, and activities, nama, uh, no, rupa, nama, and lila, and activities of the Lord who is playing like an actor in a drama. Nor can they express such things, neither in their speculations nor in their words. Yeah. Any comments on this or questions? Yes, loving relationships with the Supreme. Yes, in the Nectar of Instruction, that specific verse which is uh, instructing how to develop personal relationships, how it is important to develop such relationships, we will more easily, uh, or we can also state that it is only by developing, by beginning to develop transcendental relationships with devotees that we can come to the point of developing transcendental relationships with the Lord. And that is nicely explained and nicely understood also in the context of the spiritual master. It's like we cannot directly approach Krishna. We cannot directly serve the Lord. We approach Krishna through his devotees. Especially we approach Krishna through his representative, the spiritual master. By therefore, we are meant to develop uh, and to awaken our spiritual sentiments, our transcendental uh, uh, feelings and emotions, which are concealed within us, within the living entity, as we become more and more awakened to our spiritual nature. Therefore, service to Krishna is done through service through the spiritual master. Service uh, to the Lord is performed through service to the Vaishnavas, through the devotees of the Lord. So therefore, therefore the importance of properly interacting with devotees and learning how you know the science and the art of service, which is the core and the essence of what spiritual life is all about. The essence of dharma is seva, is service, isn't it? The culmination of dharma, culmination of Sanatan Dharma, is to re-establish our natural, eternal, loving service, loving devotional service to Krishna and to Krishna's devotees. So we practice initially by interacting, learning to interact. That's why mm, association of devotees is so important. So through that, through those activities of service, um, and Krishna also explains, as we have heard, how he becomes more pleased. Krishna is more satisfied when he sees uh, devotees serving his devotees more so than serving him, isn't it? Yeah. So, um, in this way, Srila Rupa Goswami gives different ways in which we should be interacting or exchanging with devotees. Yeah, that is how we gradually awaken our loving propensity to serve Krishna by first learning to serve all things dear to Krishna, beginning with his devotees, and so many other things are dear to Krishna, of course. Okay. Jai Grantaraj Bhagavatam ki Jai Sri Prabhupada